On our first episode of Gameplay Classics, we'll be looking at a brief history of the Sega Genesis and be reviewing one of its defining titles, Sonic the Hedgehog. The Sega Genesis was released in 1989 and was Sega's most successful console. At that time, the Nintendo Entertainment System was the dominant console worldwide, burying the Sega Master System in the Atari 7800. Meanwhile, at arcades, Sega was using an arcade system board called the Sega System 16. Some games released using this hardware include Shinobi, Golden Axe, Altered Beast, and Dynamite Dukes. It was at this time that Sega decided to make its new home console using similar architecture so they could bring their arcade hits into the living room. The Genesis was released on September 15, 1989, with a retail price of $200 and included one of their arcade hits, Altered Beast. Sega had a plan, and that plan was to take the video game champion Nintendo head-on. In their advertising, they showed gamers what the Genesis could do, which was summarized by the slogan,
Genesis does
16-bit arcade graphics.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis does
16-bit sports action.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis does.
Get Joe Montana free, Pat Riley free, Buster Douglas free, Super Monaco GP free, or Collins free.
Genesis does.
What Nintendo?
Sega made the Genesis the cool platform, while the NES, and to a degree the Super NES, were toys. On August 23, 1991, Nintendo released the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. In 1992, Sega accounted for 65% of the market share, and for the first time since 1985, Nintendo had lost the video game crown. The struggle for dominance between the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo is the most knockdown fight for supremacy in the history of gaming. But when Sega started releasing add-ons like the Sega CD and the 32X, Nintendo kept on producing AAA games for its loyal fans, and the battle was won. In the end, the Super Nintendo will return to dominance and outsell the Genesis 49 million consoles to 29 million consoles. Sega was never able to reach the same success. The Genesis had, and still has, an amazing library of games, and any gamer new or old would be foolish to not have one in their collection. Of all the great Genesis games, the one that defined the system has to be Sonic the Hedgehog. On December 31st, 1991, Sonic the Hedgehog was available.
Danita Stokes, president of HAG.
It's bad enough that Sega Genesis has the most 16-bit games, but this new Sonic the Hedgehog, oh, he really dusts my doilies. They say he's incredibly fast. Well, what's the hurry, mister? And about his attitude. Smarty pants. Why can't it be more like that nice boy Mario? Oh, little brat.
Now, get Sonic free when you buy a Sega Genesis system at its new price of $149.99.
While others attempted to emulate Nintendo's platform innovations with the Super Mario franchise, Sega brought something new to the table, with the little mascot that could. The spiky-haired blue hedgehog became Sega's mascot and managed to dethrone, if only for a brief while, a seemingly invulnerable King Mario. You get Sonic through 6 stages and one final stage where you collect golden rings in your pursuit after the Chaos Emeralds. At some points, you also get to play some bonus levels, which in my opinion can get a bit tedious. The whole time you're playing these levels, you're thinking, man, I can't wait to start running again. During these bonus stages, your goal is to collect 6 Chaos Emeralds. Your enemy is Dr. Robotnik. He offers you the easiest boss battles in the history of video games. It's hilariously easy fighting Dr. Robotnik. The stage with the most nostalgic memories for me has to be the first one, the Green Hill Zone, where everything seems flawless for a 16-bit game. The graphics are still great, even to this day, with HD graphics on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. The sound is very memorable and still holds up well. Sonic the Hedgehog greatly increased the popularity of the Genesis in North America. After it was released, it eventually replaced Altered Beast as the game bundled with the console. In large part due to the popularity of this game, the Genesis outsold the Super Nintendo nearly 2-1 during the 1991 holiday season. This success led to Sega overtaking Nintendo in January 1992 with a control of 65% of the 16-bit console market, making it the first time Nintendo was not the console leader since December 1985. Thanks to the re-release of this great title on the iPod, on Windows, Virtual Console, the Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS, and Xbox Live Arcade, the game can now be enjoyed by new gamers looking to see what was the birth of a video game legend. Even though I feel that the bonus levels can get a bit tedious, this game is a masterpiece and deserves a 5 out of 5. Thanks for watching, and keep playing the classics.